We have been talking about growing your food truck business from one food truck to several and how to lay the foundation for success in your fleet.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
But do you know what our most important ingredient is? Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Hi, and welcome to the 10-Minute Food Truck Training Podcast. My name is Bill Moore, founder of foodtrucktraining.group. We have been talking about going from a single food truck to having multiple food trucks. Last time we talked was about understanding your particular numbers and how to create that strong financial foundation from your operational standpoint. Today we're going to talk more details about your cash flow. I cannot stress enough, you as business owner must know your numbers and then react at the very first sign of any budget being missed. Things will not get better on their own. I promise you, if your food cost is out of line today and you don't do anything about it to make it better, it's going to be out of line tomorrow. So we're talking about banking and understanding your cash flow. So you have your guests giving you a whole bunch of credit cards and a whole bunch of dollar bills. How does that impact your business? What I recommend is that you set up 5 business bank accounts, and they are payroll, taxes, operating expenses, emergency cash reserve, and the last one is profit. These represent the flow of cash through your business. So let's start with payroll. That should be a full bank account, should have check writing ability. That way you can write your payroll checks against that account, and the only money in that account is for payroll and payroll taxes. You should fund this account daily, so every time that you have deposits coming in, you're going to set aside the money to pay for the labor that you spent for that particular day and the related taxes that go with that labor. That way you're never having to worry about, oh my goodness, tomorrow's payday and I need to write checks and I don't have any money in my account. We got to cross our fingers and hope that today's sales is enough to cover payroll. As an owner, you should know down to the penny what you spent in labor on a daily basis. And then, of course, make that appropriate deposit in this payroll account. And you got also to remember to include your own modest salary and all of the payroll taxes associated with the payroll you're depositing. And I can hear some folks whining and saying that's too much work, it's not really necessary. If you wait until the day before you run your payroll again and hope that you have enough money coming in sales to cover payroll, what you really have is a slow motion failing business and you're living off of cash flow. And I promise you, you will close soon. You might be able to float your payroll for months and go through that method of every Thursday accumulating enough sales to fund your payroll for Friday. But I promise you there's going to be a weather event. There's going to be some type of closure that happens that forces you to miss that really important day when you needed to generate sales to fund the payroll account. And as soon as you miss a payroll, your employees lose all respect and all loyalty for you as their employer. If their check bounces, or if you have to say, hey, I got to wait till Saturday to pay you or Sunday or next Monday, you can guarantee they'll go find another job. You want to deposit the money as you make it. You want to fund and take care of payroll so you can take care of your people. That's important. The next account you're going to need is another super important one, and that's for your taxes. Your sales tax and then your business taxes, monthly or quarterly, however you're supposed to file them, should all be deposited and in that account. Falling behind on paying taxes is the biggest killer of small businesses. Penalties and interest are no joke when it comes to late tax filings. So this tax account is only touched to pay those taxes and nothing else. Tax is one of the areas an business owner absolutely has to stay 100% disciplined in. So every day you're going to pull out that little bit of sales tax, you're going to deposit it. If your particular business in the past has indicated that you will pay 10% business taxes, then you want to pull out 10% of your sales and also fund that particular account with it. So that way you're sending off the taxes when you're supposed to be sending them off. Businesses that struggle with meeting payroll usually are behind on taxes as well. And again, this is just a slow motion business failure in progress. The operating expense account is for all the remaining money. So all the rest of the credit card receipts should be going into that account. All of the cash you have remaining from having done your payroll deposits, having done your tax deposits, go into this account. So all the remaining money is going to be in here. This account pays for everything else other than your taxes and your payroll. So it's the one that's paying for your paper supplies, your food supplies, your cleaning supplies, propane, insurance, and all the other expenses you have. Once this account has paid all the monthly bills and there's something left over in it, that money should then be transferred to your cash reserve account. So let me say that again. Your operating expense account pays for everything as far as expenses go that your business incurs, except for payroll, except for taxes. And then if there's money left over at the end of the month, once you've paid all the other monthly bills, then that money gets transferred to your cash reserve account. The cash reserve account is your backup plan for emergencies or slower than expected sales. This is an account that should be an interest-bearing account, and the money should be liquid and easy to access. So you don't want to put it in a CD where it has to be there for 6 months or 9 months or a year or whatever. You want to be able to access that money when you need it. That's why it's there for emergencies. But at least get that money into some type of an account that bears even a little teeny tiny bit of interest is better than none. And you continue month after month after month to put all the extra money into this account until you have saved up 6 months worth of operating expenses, taxes, and payroll. So I want you to think of how much less stress you would have knowing you have 6 whole months of expenses in the bank sitting in case you need it. So if we're going from our previous discussions on the break-even point, that would be 6 months worth of break-even sales. Just for a comparison, Apple, who makes all the iPhones and all the other electronic devices that people just have to be addicted to, right now has about $200 billion in reserve. Compare that to their sales in 2020. They did $274 billion. So that's almost a full year of expenses. When you take out, they made $57 billion in profit. So you subtract the $57 billion from the $274, and that puts it almost being exactly a full year's worth of money in the bank. So they could have an absolutely horrible year in sales, and it's not going to be a huge deal because they have enough money to pay all the bills already in the bank. So for you, getting to 6 months really shouldn't be a big issue if you're profitable. If you're not profitable, then you'll never get to 1 month, let alone 6 months. And that's an issue you have to work on now. You can't work on it when you have 2 or 3 or 4 trucks, because all you've done is multiply 0 times 2, 3, or 4, or 5, and you still have 0. You have to work on your profitability with a single truck. So what I urge you to do with this emergency fund is you define what constitutes an emergency long before you ever have to dip into it, and then you stay disciplined. So if you say X, Y, and Z have to happen before I touch that, and then A, B, C happens, you don't touch it because it's not what you already defined as being an emergency. Wanting to take a cruise or go to Disney World is not an emergency. When people see a lot of money accumulated in a bank account, they start thinking, oh, I can spend this willy-nilly and do whatever the heck I want. That money is not there to do that. That money is for emergencies only. Deposit the money and leave it. The good news is, once that account is fully funded, you have 6 months worth of break-even sales to cover you in case something comes up. Everything else is business profit and gets moved into the business profit account. So you have crossed into profitability, so you can pat yourself on the back and you can smile quietly to yourself because you have 6 months of security in the bank as well. So you have a whole lot less stress. You're profitable and you got money in the bank. So this business profit account is used to fund all the bonuses you would pay for yourself or your staff. And you could also use this account to reinvest back into the business with expansion, buying the new equipment upgrades, buying a bigger truck, those kind of things. So I'm sure somebody's thinking, do we really have to set up 5 business accounts? And the answer is no, you don't have to. If you are disciplined enough to manage the money as I've outlined it here, you can definitely work off of a single account or maybe 2 accounts. But here's the thing. You have to be disciplined. All of those funds are then just only moved on paper. So you'll have a ledger that's set up with those different columns, and you'll put different amounts of money into it working off of a single bank account. If you have an accountant, this particular method might sound super easy for them, and it is, but it also allows a shady accountant to skim money from those different accounts, because all you're looking at is a grand total when you pull up your bank account on the internet, because it's a single account. So you may not notice if they're pulling $100 a week or $150 or $200. And if you have really high sales, you may not even notice $1,000 a week. But I can guarantee you, if you have the 5 separate accounts, you're looking at all 5 of those on a daily basis, and you will notice when there's money missing that should not be missing. So you want to help keep honest people honest. That's why we set up multiple accounts. Now, some of you might be thinking, that sounds a whole lot like the Profit First system. And that Profit First is a book that was written by someone to help motivate people into thinking they're making more money. And this is a similar process, except we don't pretend to put profit into the profit account first. If you'll notice, I told you to do that last, after everything else is paid. The reason that people flock to the Profit First is it makes them think about, ooh, I've got money in the bank now because I'm paying my profit first. Well, see, math doesn't work that way. And it definitely doesn't work in a business like ours, which has a couple of issues. First, we have a perishable inventory. So if we buy a case of lettuce, we've got to sell that case of lettuce probably within the next day, day and a half, 2 days at the most. Otherwise, we start losing yield on that particular case of lettuce. And that works with every single product that we sell. So we're always chasing expiration dates. So Profit First won't work for a perishable inventory, because you may have to replenish stuff without benefit of the sales for the product you're having to replenish. So you have no profitability there. The second issue with a food truck is our sales can be wickedly inconsistent. You could have a $300 night followed by a $2,000 day, and then that gets followed by a $500 night. With those kind of roller coaster sales, it's very difficult to just set aside Profit First, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. So mathematically, profit is your income minus all the expenses equals profit. So if the income is smaller than the expenses, guess what? There's no profit. So pretending to pay yourself Profit First doesn't work. Think about it this way. If you wanted to have $10,000 worth of profit in your Profit First account, so you put every single nickel, dime, penny, quarter, all the dollar bills into that Profit First account until it hits 10,000, and then whatever's left over after 10,000, what you pay your expenses with. Do you kind of see the issue there? You may not be able to make payroll. You may not be able to pay the rent for the parking that you have. You may not be able to pay the commissary. You may not be able to pay insurance because you put the profit in first, but you haven't generated the sales to allow you to pay your own expenses. So when you have that 10 grand in that profit account and realize, oh crap, I've got to meet payroll, I've got to buy more food, now you're dipping into that account. So is it really Profit First? No, it is not. It's just a way to make you feel good. And I don't want you to feel good. I want you to feel secure. I want you to feel confident. And I want you to understand how math works. You cannot put profit first until you've paid all the expenses. And in our business, those expenses can be extremely inconsistent, especially right now with the way that food is doubling and tripling, it seems like every few days. So the bottom line is profit is only realized after all the bills are paid, and you can't do it before. The next time, we're going to be talking about preparing you, the owner, for that second food truck and how your role is going to dramatically change well before that second food truck's even delivered. If you're liking the podcast, please hit that support button and help in any way possible. It does mean the world to me. If you've not already joined our food truck training group on Facebook, what are you waiting for? Just go ahead and join us. There'll be links in the description. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys next time.